whether you could give just a short commentary in relation to this on 21b of this is the Guru Yoga of Machik. You know, this especially this part of like you've just finished supplicating and requesting, and then the power of my prayer makes Great Mother dissolve into light. She is absorbed into me. My mind drops into the naked simplicity. And then it starts here, you know, now look inwards, look at your mind. And then it talks about this Mahamudra of empty bliss experience, Mahamudra. So
yeah, these are the Mahamudra pointing out instructions, step by step. Teacher asks the student to look at the mind. So turn your mind into your own mind. Actually, I think I mentioned this. If I'm teaching to students or giving a pointing out instruction to students, I wouldn't state this way, but since this is just a translation of the scripture in a very short poetry, therefore it became like that because it already gives the answer. Right? Now look inward, look at your mind. When you look at your mind, I would say, what do you see? Then students look at your own mind. Oh, I don't see anything. Then he has come back to this one. Nothing is to see, no substance. So this emptiness of experience is your own mind. So this is the one characteristic of the mind called the emptiness of mind. That's the first pointing out instruction. Yeah, so that's why this kind of text requires a nuanced instruction and not just reading yourself and then, okay, this is it. Okay, this is mind should be like this. So that's really don't want, this practice. Really, this is asking, look at your own mind. Usually we don't turn our mind. Always the mind goes out. So turn your mind. Then look at your mind. So right now, do that. What do you see?
So you would recommend that if you were doing the Guru Yoga of Machik, you would pause in these places, right? Like you would actually not like when you look at mind and you stop, you kind of maybe just pause here.
Yeah. What do you see? Yeah. What am I see right now? Yeah, resting. This is the vipassana. Okay, more than the shamatha. Assuming we all have the focused mind, focused and balanced and relaxed mind. Then now teacher is leading, guiding the student to recognize the nature of mind. So that the Vipassana Mahamudra.
Is this idea that the Mahamudra is essentially the union of shamatha and vipassana sort of coming together?
Yeah, definition of Mahamudra ultimately. So what we are doing, these two kind of shamatha, this is the shamatha, but Mahamudra style, you can say Mahamudra shamatha. Yeah, Mahamudra style shamatha, because focusing on the mind and the awareness. For example, resting in the breath or counting breath or the outer object, that is not the Mahamudra. So we want to go directly to the Mahamudra shamatha, especially for modern practitioner. Mind is already constricted. So we don't want to do that one-pointed focus, kind of things right away. Mind need to be really like an expert, Starbucks coffee drinker. Yeah, you want to be like that. Without losing the awareness of that come and go, without pulled by no judgmental. You remember those three principles? No distraction, no trying to manipulate, and no changing. Yeah, so try that. Then you can develop a little more this capacity we want for Eden practice and Mahamudra, complete Mahamudra practice. These things need to be keep up practice, integrate in daily life, not only on cushion. Once you know how to do it, because you don't need any object, right? All about your mind. So you can do that while you are waiting in the doctor's office. I'm just really proponent of not reading literally. Really need guidance of the teacher.
I've never heard of Raga Asya.
That's Karma Chamme. Karma Chamme is Karma Kagyu master, especially Mahamudra text. Most of them, we read his Mahamudra text. So first one is asking you to look at your mind, not to seeing, no substance. So this is the Vipassana, right? So this is more than the shamatha. Mahamudra oriented shamatha we just introduced. So we need to see the nature of the or emptiness of the mind, first one. Then it's not that there is no mind. Then saying kind of madhyamika, and the emptiness of the mind, but not just the nothingness of the mind, right? So it's a madhyamika. Anything can arise. Like when you look at your mind, teacher asks you to really do it, not to read this text, just look at your mind. Then you might say, I don't see anything. It's like a space or something. Then say, look at more carefully what's there. Is there anything than nothingness? Anything can arise, no? Then the pristine awareness that knows the experience is your mind. So this is now the knowingness. The pristine awareness is the yeshe. This knowingness, primordial awareness or knowingness, which knows experience, is your mind. So now teacher is pointing out this knowingness of the mind. It's not nothingness. Mind is empty, but it has a knowingness, knowing qualities, right? Mind is aware. That's the thing, right? If mind is empty, just empty, then, what you call those Alzheimer, or like losing the knowingness, right? But we know what's happening, right? So that's knowingness, pointing out the knowingness of the nature of mind. That's the second one. Then it's not there that there is no mind, anything can arise. The pristine awareness that knows the experience is your mind. So your mind is yeshe, primordial knowing, innate knowingness. Then what do you experience? Then said, if you experience bliss, like a blissful sensation might come, then it said, look at that, the essence of bliss. That's kind of last time said, if you analyze, look at that. So this is the highest, one of the highest teaching. But if you experience bliss, in this case bliss, because nature of the mind is bliss, clarity, non-conceptuality. Those three characteristics. We work those three in the subtle body yoga training. We try to connect those three qualities. First one is this one. It's a blissfulness, bliss. Nature of the mind is bliss. Then teacher is saying this. Any bliss arise, like a blissful sensation, or more than sensation, like a bliss is the result of those sensations. Then look at that essence of bliss. Look directly at it. Then teacher pointed out, this is called Mahamudra of empty bliss experience. Empty yet bliss. So this is a union of emptiness and bliss. Right now you are experiencing, it is a union of empty and bliss, if you recognize it. So pointing out instruction is something between teacher and the student. So teacher pointing out, like pointing at the moon with fingers. Like instead of looking at the finger, literal word, or try to look at the moon, then that's a recognition, experience at least. That's the idea. So then teacher said, okay, that right now you're looking at that moon. So that is, in this case, is the knowing empty bliss experience you're having. Teacher is affirming like that. Then next is a characteristic, pointing out the clarity of mind. Are you experiencing the clarity of mind? Luminosity of the mind? Vividness of mind? Then if so, just look at the essence of clarity. Look at the clarity itself. Again, she's putting a finger at the moon. Then if student recognize that clarity, then teacher is saying, this is called Mahamudra of empty clarity experience you are having. So this is the three, like bliss, clarity, second one, clarity. Then third is must be non-conceptual. Then now, what else? All the time you are resting in the nature of mind. You are looking at the mind, resting in the mind. Then you reveal the blissful nature and then clarity of the mind. Then now, do you experience the emptiness, non-conceptual experience? And if so, look at the essence of emptiness. Rest in the emptiness and look through it. This is the vipassana. Then if students said, aha, so this is called Mahamudra of non-thought, non-conceptual experience. You are getting the non-conceptual, non-thought characteristics of the mind. You are connecting to. Those are three. Then continues, go deeper and deeper. When you look inward, there is nothing to be seen. Experience dropped into naked ordinary knowing, just knowing. In Zen phrase, to like ordinary knowing, kind of innate community, just knowingness. You know now inward, like ordinary knowingness. Tameruki Shepa, that's a technical term in Mahamudra. Tameru means like ordinary, not fancy about. It's original, innate, connate, co-arising knowingness. Then now look outside. Now teacher pointing the finger at the outside. Look outside. Once you recognize the nature of mind, what's happening outside? Then you might say, everything looks like illusion or like a rainbow or illusionary. Right? Because everything appears, yet empty. So it's like a rainbow. Yeah, something like that. This is actually very good text to go over toward the end or list every different Buddhist, you can say, schools and approach, referring to the each, for example, this one. When appearances of happiness and suffering arise, look at their essence and they will spontaneously subside. This is the Mahamudra making all taste equal. This is a one taste kind of approach of the one taste. The second one is a cutting ground, that's the Chö approach. The third one is calming suffering. This is the Shiche, Padampa Sangye approach. Then great middle way, you're very familiar. This is Madhyamika approach. Great completion, Dzogchen approach. It's all being in essence one. The victorious ones and your own mind, all beings are in essence one. This is the view of samsara nirvana. This is the Sakya Ramde, samsara nirvana one taste. So Sakya approach. The naked ordinary knowing, we already said that. This Kagyu Mahamudra approach. Yeah, here it said Mahamudra, practice of Mahamudra. Then what's happened toward the end? He concludes, to keep practice, outlook, activity clean. Practice, outlook, and clean. This is translation. Practice is the path, and the outlook is the view, and the activity is the behavior. And those three, clean, and protect your commitment as you do your eyes. So important to protect your commitment to this practice, this journey. Mahamudra journey. Then he said, combine the two rivers, the Kadampa and the Mahamudra. In this Kadampa, early Kadampas, so disciplines and really impeccable in terms of commitment. And that's kind of qualities of Kadampa and the Mahamudra, both together. We need to combine that. The point is to attain the stability in your mind. This is called the fruition. So this is the fourth one, right? Fruition is a result. So practice is a path, outlook is a view, and the activity is the behavior, and final fourth one is the fruition, result. This is the secret mantra tradition. This is that you can say esoteric tantric tradition, Mahamudra tradition.
You mentioned one thing. You said the mind that knows is the pristine awareness, yeshe. Mm-hmm. So is it yeshe that knows the clear light ursel, and that is what it's knowing, or is ursel and yeshe the same, non-dual?
Non-dual. It's eventually non-dual, right? And this is beyond the duality. And the mind, subject, object, collapse. So that's the kind of awareness. So shamatha, awareness of awareness is that cusps. When you just sit, become like a charcoal or the heated coal on the top of the snow. You are just sitting and resting in that brightness. Then it's melt. It's become non-dual. That awareness, you can say, yeshe, just melt the subject and object become collapse or merged into one. That's the kind of idea. So it's good to practice the awareness of awareness, but try settling the mind first. Because awareness is a very subtle practice and tricky. And of course, it's good to practice in that maybe with me or something. Otherwise we're going to waste a lot of time, because sometimes I notice in the West, in our community, some people are very familiar with Dzogchen practice or something, and the resting. First of all, you have to keep your eyes open. Lots of people close eyes. This is not about the state of your mind. Try to create certain kind of calm space. No, this is awakened. We want to awaken. So we need to keep eyes open and without fixation. This is called Mahamudra gaze. We practice in our subtle body yoga. So really relaxed, aware, but then no fixation. So that sort of thing need to be trained for awareness. Everything, settling the mind as well. Settling the mind never get bored. So if you don't like to get bored in shamatha, do this one to get used to it. Learn very well how to do it and what's the pitfall. And I think I might have a course on this. I did entire course on this. But anyway, do this and then started interesting my mind. Just like watching the parade in our mind, without judging, but slowly settle. So that's why it's called settling the mind in its natural state. But especially initial one, you will pull, I will guarantee you, you will pulled by the object of meditation. Object on this appearance, mental activities. But then coming back, again, come back to the, park bench. Then start watching your mind. Then again pulled. Then just come back. So repeating. This is about training. It's not like a, one-time shot. These metaphors helped me a lot. This kind of thing. Boundless sky is your nature of mind. Mind resting in you as a boundless sky. Then clouds come and go. Bird chirped, passing by, and come and go, and disappearing into the mind. So you started to know the nature of mind, nature of mental activities. Actually, they're empty. We are always caught by it because we solidify it. But then, once you started to know that, it would appear and dissolve. Oh, this is empty. We don't need to get disturbed by it. Lots of benefit come from this, especially for the modern practitioners. And also very challenging. This is very challenging, I will tell you up front. But hang in there if you want to go on this journey route. I know in our community we are not doing enough this kind of practice, always lots of things, other things, Idam practice. But Idam practice I call the Mahamudra of Idam practice. We carry this one into the Idam practice. That's very important one.